Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner, everyone. This is a short video to talk a little bit about a mat that I'm going to be making. But first things first, I want to take you through some of my thinking. I want to play Darkness Within, which is a one-page rules narrative game. And, well, I realize I don't have anything really good for a courtyard. In the past, I made this. This is not bad, but I want something better. Okay, this is old already, so I want to replace it. And then I can work with tiles, but tiles take a long time. These are foam tiles, and they're great, but they do take a long time, and I need something that's going to be quick and get me playing real soon. Now, I was experimenting with my old school sheets of paper. Yes, and this is all done with printer paper, and then I put a layer of Mod Podge on it and some varnish, right? And then I make my own little paper mats. Very old school. And yeah, this works, and if worse comes to worse, I will do this, okay? And I've played one-page rules with this. I'm sorry, 1 hour war games. That's what these are designed for. But I want to try something different, okay? These are very old school, very nice, but something different. And so I was experimenting with these templates, filling them up with paint, and then pressing down carefully. And it makes some interesting kinds of markings and everything, but not quite what I want either, okay? So I may experiment with these. I will be experimenting with these a lot more in the future on smaller tiles. We'll see. You haven't heard the end of those. And then I have my old school method of painting cardboard. And this is not bad. And I actually really like this method. I learned this from a terrain artist on YouTube a long time ago. And I don't remember the person's name. I'm very sorry, but if I find it again, I will definitely put in the description. He deserves his credit. And he gave me the idea, and so I started experimenting with this, and I really like it. When I use these cloths, I generally have alligator clips and tighten up the cloth on all sides with the alligator clips, and that prevents it from moving and all this good stuff. Basically, this cloth is 6 feet long by 2.5 feet wide, a little over, more like 3 feet wide for the cloth, a little bit over 3 feet wide, but the table is 2.5 feet wide. I'm not going to be playing on a very large surface. The game calls for a table that's about 6 feet by 4 feet. That's way too big for me. So I'm going to be doing a smaller kind of circle, a smaller kind of square to represent my courtyard. And then the rest of it, I'll just fill it in little by little. Now for this project, we're going to be using Walmart fabric cut. This is $5. It's 2 yards, more than enough for most mats. The disadvantage to this cloth is that the paint will go through to the other side, so you won't be able to do double-sided. Okay, it does have its advantages in that it's inexpensive, and you can even get them cheaper. Even if you didn't want to use this, you can go to the dollar store and get cheaper stuff and still do some low budget mats. All right, so I'm going to be using, normally for my mats, I use a combination of spray paint and airbrush. Today, I'm going to use airbrush because I don't have very much spray paint. I have to get more. There's my airbrush setup, and we're going to start painting. Using 2 colors of paint, black. This is from Apple Barrel, and this one's also from Apple Barrel. This is Granite Gray. This is my light color. And just by mixing the 2 colors in different ratios, I'll get the different tones that I'm going to need to replicate my stone. Now, for this piece, I covered everything in black and then did my grays. We're not going to do that here, so we'll see how we play with it. I mark my area with the popsicle sticks here, the craft sticks, just to give me, remind me of the area that I want to paint and keep the rest out. Okay, so we have the first step of the stone illusion that we're creating with paint. And that's really probably one of the most important things about what I learned in art class years ago is that a lot of these techniques are basically creating illusions. They're very clever techniques that trick the eye into seeing, you know, whatever it is the artist wants you to see. So basically, right now it looks like some kind of like leopard skin or something like that, right? But basically, the black gives you the shadow for the stone and kind of highlights the borders of the stones. Now, I'm going to finish this little area up right here, and I'll show exactly how I'm stippling the brush. This is mostly stippling, and then at times kind of dragging it a little bit. So we're going to finish that end together, and I'll slow it down in the video or speed it up as I see fit in order to kind of show what I'm doing. So this has to dry a little bit. Then I go back and I do the dark gray. And then from the dark gray, we go back and we do a lighter gray. I usually do three. I usually find that I don't need any more. The lighter gray is probably the less amount that I use, and it's really stippling using a smaller stiff brush and just do all the lighter grays. And then the extreme highlight is white. And usually I use the white to make the cracks. And also I highlight some of these wrinkles, actually. Okay. And so that pretty much finishes the tile. Now, blotches. And I'm holding my brush at an angle. So I'm either doing this, which is basically rubbing the brush, or actual stippling. Okay, and I'll do both, and the stippling gives me more of a shadowy part around the blotch, which is kind of looks good, right, in my opinion. And then I also make some really big blotches by kind of just doing random stuff with the brush, and I make some nice big blotches that almost looks like a Z. And sometimes I'll do an L or a U or even like a T. I mean, just, but it has to look random. Um, you don't want it to have like a defined shape, because then it, you know, unless you're trying to replicate runes or something with the stone. Um, we're going to be exploring mats. This is going to be the year for mats because I'm going to be redoing all of my mats. I have some mats that are 6 years old that I made when I was, you know, 6 years ago. And then it's about time to kind of retire them. I used older methods, and now I have newer, better methods. So, you know, I'm going to be redoing a lot of the mats. Okay, you can see the gray as it's drying. And for the gray, I switch techniques. I use this, okay? And we're going to do it in just a minute. The benefit to using these kinds of cloths is that the paint is absorbed right away. So I can scratch it, I can do whatever. That paint is in there, okay? So if I'm using a smoother kind of plasticky cloth, things get different there because in that material, it's not absorbed. And so if you're doing this kind of stippling, it might, you know, scratch off the paint. So you do have to take other measures. Mix some white and black to my specification and have it in a bottle and then just like use it. So basically for my stippling, I'm just stippling, okay? Sometimes I will do this, which is like pulling my brush, and I'm using the tip of the brush, and sometimes I use the flat end, okay? Depending on what I want for the stone. If I want more like little grains, then I use the flat. If I want more dragged, almost like shadowy, then I use this, the tip, okay? All right, so the another lighter layer is going on the blotches, and I'm using the toothbrush again. And this time I'm pressing down on the blobs, just like I did with the dark gray layer. And I don't want to do too much white. This is almost like dry brushing where you don't want a lot of paint. You kind of just, you know, if you do too much, it becomes too blotchy and just kind of hides the lower color, and you don't want the shadowy part to be completely hidden. I mean, that's the whole point of having the shadowy part. It kind of gives you a border for the like stones, right? So I don't know, that's, I guess, my opinion on the matter. But so I'm doing this layer, and then we're going to go back with the extreme highlight, which is even fewer stippling action, right? And that's done with like an even lighter gray or a pure white. But I'm going to do it with a lighter gray because I'm going to reserve the pure white for the extreme highlighting of some of the edges. And you'll see how that works in just a minute. So this is the third layer, and this is almost finished. This process has taken about an hour, basically, to do. I would say an hour and 10 minutes, give or take. So it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. The things you do to save some money. And yes, that is important. So, all right, let me just finish up with this lighter layer. Okay, and that's all I'm doing is just some stippling. And then we'll do the in-between layers. So to define the edges of the stones a bit, I take a magic marker and I just do some of the edges. I don't do every single edge. I give some of the areas like a sharper kind of corner. Areas like this that are a little fuzzy, right? Just give them random kind of sharp corners. Let me do one that's closer to the camera. There we go. And just kind of do the corners, and I don't encircle the entire border. I just do random any areas that might look a little too fuzzy. And I'm gonna do the same thing with white paint in some of the areas, like really starking contrast. The contrast with the white paint really helps to define these little stone areas. So these are stones that are embedded in whatever substrate it is that they used to make this courtyard thing. Okay, so that's all I do. And I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to finish that side. This side is pretty much done. And we're going to do the white and the final highlight. Okay, so now most of the stone is highlighted, and there is a lot of space in between the stone, and that's okay. I could tighten them up, and by adding smaller little black blotches everywhere. That'll take me longer, but I'm okay with it right now. So basically, the white highlight stage is a very extreme white highlight around some of the areas. Sometimes I dry brush it. Sometimes I do more white. Sometimes I do angles and I sharpen the angles to the stones. Other times I do like round edges, depending on the blotch. I try to follow the blotch a little bit. Okay, now we're gonna do one more dry brush. I need to let this dry a little bit. We're gonna do a little bit of tan dry brush. All right, so with the airbrush, I took the airbrush and did some brown. I may go back and do actually a much darker brown that I have and just go around, snake all around. I'm not sure yet. I may just leave it like this. And basically a very dusty kind of courtyard. And then there are the walls. These walls are very old. These were my old tinfoil walls for castles, and I do have doors for some of them. And so this will be the interior. This is all very old terrain now, so I may be doing redoing some of it, but it works for now. And I do have a big door for the gatehouse there. Okay, and yeah, so there it is. There's my mat. And the benefit of mats, just can't say it enough. So in that middle piece there, I'm probably going to put a fountain. I'm going to put it more in the middle, put a fountain, and then have like boxes and crates. And I have a bunch of little furniture, benches and things that I'm going to put around. And that pretty much completes my mat for my one-page rules game. basically you guys get the idea. This is better than anything I had for representing this kind of environment. And there are a lot of different ways to do your mats. And the colors, you can change the colors however you want. What I showed today was the leopard pattern. That's what I call it. You start with the leopard pattern and then you work your way up from there. You can tighten up the rocks, make them closer together, more like this. I started with a light background, okay, and that's because I don't want to use my black cloth. I'm using it for a space mat, actually, that I'm going to make. So I decided to go with the pecan one, and, you know, we made it work. It's not bad. One of the cool things about this color is that my wall terrain really stands out, okay? So you still get that kind of stony feel, but the wall terrain really stands out. All right, folks, have a good one. Thank you very much, and we'll talk very soon. This is a very impromptu project because I realized that I needed a mat. There it is.